And welcome to your Monday episode of Beerfield Fantasy Football News Shots. I am your host at Hot BFF. As you can tell by the sunlight behind me, we're recording this a little bit earlier than normal because of some scheduling conflicts. So, extra large news episode for Dan Thury tomorrow. My apologies to him, sort of, kind of, not really. So, we're going to be the news that we have now, though, in regards to Week 3 injuries, among some other things. As always, you can follow the show at BeerfieldFF on Twitter. I am at HotBFF with 2 Ps. Our Monday episode released this morning, so be sure to check that out. The Beerfield Fantasy Football Podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcast at. News. So, into the short news that I have here. Darren Sproles broke his arm and tore an ACL, so his season is over. Short, not in relation to Sproles' height. Expect Wendell Smallwood and Corey Clement to take over some of those roles. I think that Wendell Smallwood's probably the waiver claim here. He looked really good as a runner, but look for one of those two to emerge with Blunt still in short yardage situations. So don't expect anything too big out of Blunt, but Wendell Smallwood should definitely pick up a bigger role from this, with Corey Clement mixing in a little bit more. But this is definitely a big blow. We'll have to stay tuned. I know Sproles is contemplating retirement, so I'll have to stay tuned for more dynasty analysis, which will probably come on Wednesday's episode. For the Falcons, Julio Jones suffered a lower back injury. He's going to be limited in practice this week, so keep an eye on that. My thought is that they're going to limit him in practice to save him to be able to play, so I don't think he's in danger of not playing at this point in time, but you will see him limited to practice and probably on the injury report. Speaking of injury reports, Jordan Howard is no longer listed on the Bears injury report. He did go down a couple of times in Sunday's game, dealing with an AC joint sprain in his shoulder. He did come back. He had a very, very productive game, so good news here. Expect Jordan Howard back in full force. He looked good, like he finally got his legs under him. More Redskins running back woes is Samaje Perine has a bruised hand. He is considered day-to-day, so expect him back. He was largely doing a good Rob Kelly impression of being inefficient in place of Rob Kelly, so take that for whatever it's worth, but he should be good to go, I would think. On the Panthers front, Kelvin Benjamin's MRI revealed no structural damage, so this is good news. We'll see. Keep an eye on him this week. I would expect him to play this weekend based on the fact that there is no structural damage in that knee, but since he didn't return to the contest, it'd be interesting to find out what he's actually dealing with. We may have a Bradford thing going on where it could be a bone bruise or something along those lines, and he could still miss time, but I would monitor the situation as of right now. It sounds like he's going to be questionable. We'll know more later in the week. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, linebacker Levante David has a high ankle sprain. He's considered week to week. For a defense that didn't look good, missing one of their star linebackers, also not good. So just be aware of your matchups as always. Stick with us. We'll help you figure those out. But the Bucs could be a good one for most offensive weapons going forward. For the Seahawks, Doug Baldwin will undergo an MRI, but it's expected that his groin injury is not serious. Don't expect him to miss time either. He came out of the game, but it was late, and he didn't return. He was already 10 for 105. So had that game been, a little bit more in hand, or he gotten hurt earlier in the game, he may have came back. So, again, something we'll keep an eye on, but I'd expect him to be good to go for next weekend as well. Good news for Vikings fans. Teddy Bridgewater is about 3 weeks away from returning to practice per report. So after that horrific knee injury, it's just good to see that Bridgewater is going to be back on a football field, regardless of Bradford's injuries or anything like that. Bradford's ingrained in this offense. I don't expect Teddy to come back and start immediately, but he could definitely give them a more capable backup, especially if Bradford's knee issues continue to ail him. For the Packers, Randall Cobb was not really close to playing against the Bengals, so this is noteworthy because he could miss more time. And if that happens, then Devontae Adams is a star. Geronimo Allison really benefited. You had Jordy Nelson do what Jordy Nelson does, but he was also hobbled. So Geronimo Allison could be a couple-week dart throw if you're in a wide receiver needy situation, with Randall Cobb still ailing. And for the Saints, Willie Snead's going to return from his 3-game suspension this week, so it'll be interesting to see how they decide to use him in the offense with the departure of Cooks. It'll be our first real chance to get a look at it. Ted Ginn was running through most of preseason as the wide receiver, too. Still, I'd expect them to use 3 wide receiver sets, and I would expect Snead to be on the field. Neither Tommy Lee Lewis or Brandon Coleman really emerged to take that spot, so I think that Snead is still the second best wide receiver on that team because Ted Ginn has hands that are cinder blocks. This really puts a damper on Kobe Fleener, though, who's been kind of a favorite streamer and a mess of tight ends. It's not that Fleener wasn't utilized with Snead there, but that's going to cause more split in the targets. That's all we got for news. Studs and Duds will also be up early, so be sure to tune into that. Once again, I am your host at Hot BFF with 2 Ps of the Beerfield Fantasy Football Podcast. I apologize for the weird lighting behind me because we are recording this earlier than normal because of scheduling conflicts. We'll try to get some more scenic stuff. I got a banner sitting over in the corner I need to get hung, so we'll get some more scenic stuff for the aesthetically pleasingness of this show eventually. And other than that, Dan Thury will catch you tomorrow. Thanks.